Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Toon Review, where I'm pleased to say I am joined by Stato this morning for the press conference reaction. And we'll go through what Eddie Howe has had to say in his conference this morning ahead of the trip to, of course, Turf Moor tomorrow afternoon, which you can listen to live right here on the Toon Review for Matchday Live, which starts at 2:30 p.m. tomorrow. But a couple of shows before then, of course, this one and, of course, TTR Friday / Fan Forum tonight starting at 7. Now, of course, Eddie has been speaking to the media ahead of the game. And what's come out of it is that Fabian Schär is not going to be around probably for the rest of the season, Alex. And I mean, look, they're not taking any risk on him, obviously, which is good to see. But it's kind of worrying that we are really down now to the very, very bare bones of centre-backs. He said Fabian will miss a period of time with a minor hamstring problem. He won't be available tomorrow, and I doubt we will see him again this season. So he's not putting a time limit on it. He's just saying that he probably won't be available for the rest of the season, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few people reading into that. I mean, Toon Gamer there has just said calling it a minor injury when he won't play again this season. Well, there are only a couple of weeks left of the season, to be fair to him. So I guess 2 to 3 weeks is a minor injury, right? So I get what you mean, but at the same time, yeah, it is a big blow, and it kind of means we're going to need a couple of players to step in, whether it's Krafth or Alex Murphy. You would think it would be Krafth that would step in, but he did reference Alex Murphy in his press conference as well, and they've been okay. They've Alex Murphy's trained with the first team all year and is definitely progressed. He did reference Paul Dammit as well. Probably the third choice, I would say, in my mind.
I would very
everyone
much
else's as well.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%, no doubt about that. But I mean, look, Fabian's had an excellent season in general. He has had a couple of dodgy games, of course, which we know the Fabian. Getting to know him over the years, he is prone to the odd lackadaisical game of football. But he's going to be a big miss for these last few games, Alex, because we need as strong a squad as we can, because it's a very important run-in that we've got 3 away games starting tomorrow, and of course the home game against Brighton next week. But the 3 away games are critical. You've got your Burnley, who are fighting against relegation. You've got Brentford, who are looking over the shoulder right now. And of course, obviously, Manchester United, who we are battling for 6th place for. So to lose Schär now, it is a big deal, isn't it? Because, I mean, Krafth can come in and do a job, but Schär's been excellent.
Yeah, it's a huge blow. I think it's been understated. It's possibly not been mentioned enough in that press conference that Fabian Schär has been an ever-present for the last 2 years in this side. He's been integral. Yes, he's probably had, out of 50-odd matches, he's probably had 3 or 4 where he wasn't as good. And it maybe, there's been a couple of issues. But again, out of countless matches, he's been exceptional most of the time. He's very reliable. It's very rare he lets you down. He's important in attacking build-up, pinging long passes. He's intelligent. He's a great defender. He's older and experienced, and it is a huge blow for the rest of the season. I don't think it was really. Again, it's down to the journalists to kind of follow up on those questions, but they didn't. And fair play to Eddie Howe for referencing the players available, and they should be able to step up. Krafth did step up in the second half against Sheffield United, and he was okay. Obviously, I do have concerns about Krafth's competence playing 4 more matches. Is it 4 more matches? 3 more matches. However many 4 more matches we've got.
3 away games and 1 home game.
Yeah, that many matches of 90+ minutes, all at right side of centre half. He's played 45 minutes fine against the worst team in the league. It does concern me a little bit, but we can't go into too hard on whoever the replacement is, because they're not Fabian Schär. Like, Emil Krafth is allowed to make mistakes because he's a fullback, and we'll just have to see how we get on with it. But it is a huge blow for us.
It is. Eddie saying that Dubravka coming in and has done very well. Well, he's not going to throw him under the bus, is he? I'm not sure where Alex has gone there. He's vermoosed. He's lost his connection, I think. He will be back shortly. So it's saying that Dubravka's come in and done very well. It's obviously a confidence boost to him. That's the thing for me. He's got to make sure that his players are, getting the managers back in before we go into these games. I mean, there is talk of Nick Pope coming in. as he's back in training. So I think that's an interesting one for me. A very, very interesting one, because obviously, Dubravka, I think, will be away in the summer. I think everybody agrees with that he's going to be away in the summer. But to give him just the confidence boost to go into the last few games and perform for Newcastle, I think is vital. That we make sure that he's okay in his own headspace. Yes, we know as fans that maybe that Dubravka hasn't done as well as we would have liked him to, or he's not as good as he once was. And I think that's fair comment. I really do think that's fair comment. So for me, we'll just wait and see on Dubravka. I think it looks as though Nick Pope might actually play before the end of the season. And I know we've all been saying, leave him out, don't play him, let him rest over the summer and come back a stronger goalkeeper next year. But time will tell on that one, unfortunately. And I think, he'll be away in the summer anyway. Baz says, in that case, we have to score plenty just in case. Krafth to play centre-back tomorrow. Trips will be back next week and is smart enough to play centre-back. It's a blow, but we'll be okay. Yeah, Trippier is smart enough to play there, but I don't think he will. Trippier, if he comes back next week, does he walk straight back into the team ahead of Livramento? I mean, me as a fan, I don't think Livramento should be dropped. I think he's a vital cog for us. But Trippier's leadership is obviously huge. And certainly if we can fit Trippier into anywhere in that side, certainly with the games we've got left at Old Trafford, we'll probably need his leadership. Let's be fair to him. Yeah, we've seen that one. Another one bites the dust, indeed, Craig. Another one does. Michael, good afternoon, good morning, or good afternoon. No, it's still morning. Pope has to fight for his place back. Who is he fighting? A blind dwarf? Yeah, I think that's... look, as far as I'm concerned, if Nick Pope's fit to play, he starts. I don't understand how he would have to fight for his place. I know that's the sort of known given thing, isn't it? That you've got to fight for your place to come back and things like that. It's not like that at all. I think Nick Pope comes straight back in, and I think a lot of Newcastle fans would probably feel the same as that. Good to see Joelinton back in training. It very much is, yeah. Methinks Burnley is the toughest of the remaining games. Well, Davey, I agree. And certainly, the way Billy sort of talked about the game and predicted a 2-1 win, of course, for Burnley. I think you're right. I think it is a very, very tough game. However, all of these games are still vitally important. The home game against Brighton, many people say, well, Brighton haven't got a lot to play for now. They're just going to finish sort of mid-table-ish, and their season's kind of dwindled away after a very, very positive start. They've had a few rocky results. But the 3 away games that we've got, all those teams are fighting for something at present. Of course, Burnley fighting for relegation. Brentford, one place above, are looking over the shoulder. And of course, Manchester United fighting us for 6th place. So these last 3 games, away games, are absolutely huge, guys. They really are big games. Alex fell off his chair with Eddie's comments on Dubravka. I'm not sure where he's gone. I think he must have an internet problem, guys. He's back with us now, eventually. There he is. Internet problems, Stato?
Yeah, it's dropped from 400 to 30 meg. That's not good. They'll be getting it this afternoon.
I get 38 until we get the fast fiber in. So,
I've got fast fiber, and I don't know what's happened to them today. They're not very happy.
The Riley says, Paul, who do you honestly see dropping more points, us or Manchester United? Interesting question. Probably Man United, actually. If they've got a difficult and iffy run in, Alex, don't they? And I mean, look, we've got it. It's all in our hands, to be fair, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we're 1 point behind Manchester United, and we have to play them. We've got a much better goal difference than everyone around us, so it is completely in our control. So Eddie Howe's completely right to be saying things like, we can focus on our own games, because we absolutely can.
Yeah.
However, if we slip up once, it's not in our hands anymore. We're reliant on other people beating teams for us and us kind of stumbling over the finish line. So I know I don't want us to be kind of have that expectation of, like Man United fans and stuff like that. A lot of the big clubs or the traditional 4, whatever you want to call them, their expectation is just to win every match, and any loss is just not good enough. Yeah. We're not like that. Obviously, there'll be a time in sort of 10 years' time where the expectation is, we should be winning most matches. It's not yet, but we do need to win these last 4 games. If we win these last 4 games, it's done. It's not straightforward at all. It's an extremely difficult set of hurdles to navigate over and around. However, we're going to get through them. But we need to win. We need to win all of our matches. It's as simple as that.
Toon Gamer says, do you think he might play 3 centre backs again now with Murphy, Burn, and Krafth? I don't think he'll throw Alex Murphy in as a back 3. I think the fact that he hasn't played Murphy a lot says a great deal to me. I think he'll just stick with the 4 at the back for the rest of the season, Alex.
I would disagree. I think
really?
I don't. I think that formation may pop back out at some point. It's not overly likely. Again, because it worked really well against Tottenham. It was based on player availability and suitability against playing Spurs and their high line. I don't know why we basically, well, again, the game after that, there was a breakdown in execution. Eddie Howe said his plan or the plan wasn't carried out properly by the team as a collective, and that's why it didn't work. So maybe it would have worked if it was done right.
Well, we'll never know that, will we?
I think it could be a mixture. I think this game against Burnley will be our typical sort of shape. But I wouldn't be. Yeah,
maybe Old Trafford might be interesting. We'll see what he does there. Hamid says Chelsea are 2 points behind now. We need to win all of our games no matter what now. Yeah, Chelsea have found a run of form, and of course, beating Tottenham last night 2-0. Certainly done their chances no harm. So they're breathing down our necks, Alex. So there's still a whole lot to play for. Of course, Baz Down Under says Brighton have to play everyone. They are involved in this race, big style, because they do play every. Brentford can't go down mathematically, so their season's pretty much just a dead rubber now. So maybe that will benefit us.
I've got Chelsea's fixtures.
Yeah, go on then.
They've got West Ham, Forest, Brighton, and Bournemouth. So their running isn't too bad, but you know what they're like. Cole Palmer FC at the moment. So
yeah, absolutely. Chelsea are the ones to worry about for me, not Manchester United. Have a feeling they will pip us. Come on, Adam. Stay confident. Stay confident. Although saying that Brentford, they're a dead rubber side now for the rest of the season, but they'll still want to perform in front of the fans. So especially at home, they'll not want to just drop off and let Newcastle walk all over them.
And Ivan Toney wants to obviously stake his claim for the Euros. So
yeah. Absolutely. Martin says if Trippier, when Trippier's back, because I think he's coming by all accounts next week, could we play him at centre back? I mean, there was a comment when you were off, Alex, saying that maybe Trippier's good enough to play there should we need him. I don't think he'd risk him at centre back at the moment. I think it would be certainly very much an emergency centre back if he did come in. Because look, whatever we say about Paul Dummett, he can come in and do a job. He proved that when we went to Old Trafford in the Carabao. He can do a job there as long as he keeps his sensible head on instead of his wrestling head.
It's just not a mistake you want from someone in their 30s. That's the whole point. In that is literally the point in having Matt Ritchie and Paul Dummett on the books. It's for experience, depth, and to come on and not do silly things when we need them to help. Matt Ritchie's been solid. He scored a goal for us that was important in getting us points. He's been influential. He's been okay. Paul Dummett obviously did well in the cups in his, I think it was 2 appearances he got, was it, in the cups? And then he's done exactly what you don't need. We needed him in his 30s, experienced centre half, understands the club, understands everything. Don't come in and lose his points by doing silly things and giving a penalty away. And it wasn't an accidental penalty. It was a moronic thing to do. I just don't want him playing again. I think he's blown his chance now. So,
I agree. But Man United, they do have they've still got to play Palace. They've still got to play Arsenal. So they're 2 games that potentially you could look at and say, well, look how well Palace are playing at the minute. And they'll want to beat Manchester United because everybody wants to beat Man United. And obviously Arsenal chasing the title, they will damn well want to beat Manchester United. So they've got a pretty tough stretch to come. So it's certainly not all done and dusted yet. Now, Eddie went on to speak about the injury news, and he said, we've had Miggy and Joelinton return this week. their first steps back into full team training. We've also seen Nick Pope as well, so it's been a good week. It's certainly given us a big lift. We'll see later. We'll see after today if they're available for Burnley. I've got to make the right decisions individually and for the team. I mean, he's talking very positively there. I mean, there's a chance that we may see, one or two of them on the bench, and of course Nick Pope coming back. When you were off there, Alex, people are just saying that Nick Pope is. I mean, he walks back into the team, surely, if he's available to play.
Well, I don't know if you've seen the comments from Eddie Howe about that, but he disagrees. He says that when Nick comes back, he's got to earn his place back because Martin has done well, which
I think that's ridiculous. I think
I love everything Eddie Howe says normally. I could not disagree more with that.
Yeah.
Even the journalist, I can't remember who it was, specifically said, Martin's done well. And then he couldn't bring himself to leave it as that and said at times, because he knew that's not true. Yeah. I'm shocked by that. I'm absolutely shocked because I think that it's been abhorrent, sort of the way that Martin just can't play the way we need him to play. The fact that Dan Burn at least 3 times a match turns around and shouts at him to come and claim the ball, and it's like somebody speaking to him in Chinese. He's got no idea what's going on.
That's what scares me the most is the fact that he's so up and down. We're coming off his line, and these games that we're playing now, we need solidarity at the back. We don't need any confusion. We need players that are going to understand each other. And Nick Pope gives the back four. They know exactly what they're getting from Nick Pope. I
mean, I don't think it's essential we have him back before the end of the season. I think that's risky, especially with what happened. We need to make sure that next season we've got our best keepers available. We don't have this happen again. So if we have to sack him off for the last 2 games and keep Dubravka in, fine, not a problem. I'd rather he's just available next year. But at the same time, I wasn't overly keen on the comments of Eddie saying that Martin's in, he's done really well, and Nick's going to have to earn his place back. I think it's a case of Martin doesn't suit the style we play at all. He can't sweep. He can't communicate with his back four. He flaps. His defenders don't trust him. And it's been shown time and time again. Like
he's not going to sit there and say it to the media, is he? Though, but I mean, I can only hope that he's just saying that to play the media, and then back, when he's with Jason Tyndall and the rest of the coaches, we need Nick Pope back. It's different when he's in private to what he is in the press conference.
Yeah, he didn't need to say that, so I'm surprised that he did.
Yeah, maybe.
It wasn't needed. It's just an odd one. Dubravka's got his qualities. He's better than Nick Pope at a few things. Like his distribution and his kind of on the ball stuff is better than Nick Pope's. But I would say everything else Nick's better at. So it's I'm sure they don't want to. They're all friends, all the goalkeepers. I know they are, obviously, but at the same time, I just think it really does hurt our style of play without Nick Pope.
Julie says, don't know why, but I feel an end of season Miggy purple patch coming on. Well, Julie, I don't know what you've been eating for breakfast, but good on you. I mean, look, out of the 3, I think Joelinton's the one for me. I can't wait to see Big Joe back. And if he is going to be fit before the end of the season, especially now, if we can get him on the bench, get him maybe, 20 or so minutes under his belt now, and then more minutes against Brighton, he could well be involved in the away game at Manchester United, which would be a huge boost for us.
Absolutely. Having Joelinton back we've missed him so much. And again, he's not going to be perfect. People need to remember that. He does tend to be. He needs to build up his match fitness because with a player like that as well, because he's an enormous guy and he can look a bit lethargic and cumbersome at times. You've got to give him a run of games for him to be quick, sharp. There's only once I've seen him come back and not be rusty, and that was he came back for the City game in the Cup, and he absolutely bossed the midfield. But normally when he comes back, he does have to shake it off a bit. But it will be obviously a lethargic Joelinton is still twice as mobile as Sean currently, so it would be very, very helpful to have him back.
Kenzie says Dubs isn't great, but that Burnley keeper has dropped a few horrendous errors. It's Trafford, isn't it? The young goalkeeper at Burnley.
Well, Muric has been in at the moment.
Muric has been in at the moment. Yeah, Billy's a big fan
of
fantastic
Trafford. Against Manchester United. Muric was.
He was. Very, very up and down goalkeeper that we've seen. He has made some mistakes, but he's also kept Burnley in a lot of games. So, look, I say we pressure him, obviously, from the off. If it is him in goal tomorrow, which there's no reason why it wouldn't be. Of course, Trafford has been linked with us-ish in the past. But, I mean, out of the two goalkeepers, I mean, Trafford is probably, for me, the better one.
He's got the highest potential, you'd say, and because he's English and he's rated, and obviously played at Man City, so that's why. I mean, again, we mentioned this yesterday when we figured out that Forest could still slip through the trapdoor and there could be a fire sale. There's quite a number of decent pickups to be had from Burnley as well. To be fair to them, as you've seen, there's one defeat in 8. They've started playing better football. They retain the ball well. They outpossession Manchester United away. We looked at a couple of the players in the preview show at some of the stats. Some of them are playing. You wouldn't think they were Burnley players, and that's no disrespect to Burnley at all. But obviously, you've got some outstanding data for players playing in the team who are 19th in the league. They've got some great players. I wouldn't mind a cut. There's definitely 2, 3, maybe even 4 that you'd pick up as depth, and they're younger. There's, most of that squad are sort of 23, 24, 25. They're developing.
Young and hungry.
Yeah, not a bad team at all. I think they're going to be unlucky to go down. But if they can retain them, I think they would probably come straight back up. If they can keep that core together, they're a really good team.
Taquani Fraser says, having Joe, Barnes, Wilson and Miggy as subs and no defensive options all of a sudden is so ironic. It is that we're looking at the top end of the field now instead of the back end. But, having those 4 on the bench, Alex, it's huge. I mean, given our bench has been very much a defensive bench of late, with the odd, sub like Barnes coming on or Wilson coming on. To have 4 players like that on the bench really does give Eddie options should the game not be going our way, which we hope that isn't the case, of course. But if it's not, it will give him options on the bench this time.
Yeah, it means we have a kitchen sink and we can throw it, which is great because we haven't had that for ages. We've generally, there were times when we had one kind of winger, and that was basically it. It was either Miggy or someone else. We'd normally got one option off the bench because just everyone was injured. Whereas now we could bring on a couple of wingers and a striker. We could even keep Isak on and move him out wide and just absolutely go for it. So if it's needed, we've got that option. But then it means we can be a bit more selective in our substitutions. If something isn't working tactically, he could bring Miggy on, Barnes on, Wilson if necessary, and tweak things around. So there's a lot more flexibility in attacking substitutions and just choice, which is fantastic. But as everyone's just said, we've completely lost that luxury at the back, which is a nightmare again.
I mean, we are literally running on threadbare staff at the back. There's no doubt about that. But listen, it's been that way all season, whether it's in defence or up top or in the midfield. We've been threadbare in certain positions for most of the season. It's now just the fact that it's the defence's turn to be threadbare as we move into the final 4 games. So nothing's new there.
The use of the teenagers proves it. Alex Murphy, Hall is 18 and probably wasn't meant to be coming in and playing. Well, I know he had a spell out, but you've got Miley as well. The fact that we've got a 17-year-old who's played as many minutes as he has this year. Yeah. Of course, he's 18 now, so happy birthday, Lewis. Although a lot of people aren't too sure about that tattoo, but good effort anyway.
Listen, the trolling that he's had on that is disgusting, by the way. I mean, it's just typical of the imbeciles on social media. Yeah, Look, if he wants a tattoo, he likes it. That's it. He likes his tattoo. Then sod everybody else.
It's a good message. It's a beautiful
gesture. It's a real good gesture. And sort of, Susan was asking the other day, saying, "Oh, well, what if he leaves to another club and he's got a black and white shirt on?" It doesn't matter. He's homegrown, born. He's a Newcastle fan, and let's hope that he doesn't go to another club anyway, because I think Lewis Miley's going to be here for years to come. Now, he moved on to talk about Sandro Tonali, and he says, "I think it's the right decision the FA have arrived at, that his ban isn't extended. We're still supporting him and helping him through this time. He's conducted himself in a really positive way. I've seen the hunger to return. They're all through the time he's been out. We've covered loads of aspects of his game and try and help him utilize the time in a positive way." I mean, clearly, he'd be a bonus to have back, Alex. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing Tonali next season. I really am.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite funny because when he was asked specifically about what we'd lost or what we didn't have or what he would bring if he would have been available this season, it was quite funny because he was obviously trying to praise Sandro without raining all over Sean Longstaff's parade and maybe some of the other midfielders as well. Because he was saying, yeah, if we'd have had Sandro, obviously we would have had more technical ability, more energy, more. But it's kind of hard for him to say that because he's basically just saying we would have had more of everything compared to like Sean and some of the other stars, which is I mean, you pay 60 million for Italy's crown jewel. Of course, he's meant to be really good, but he's bang on. He will be like a new signing. I think the cliche is perfectly acceptable in this example because he's basically out for the entire year. I actually watched a clip of all of his minutes for us yesterday. He's fantastic. I can't wait to have him back. He's going to be so integral. The passes, the awareness, the quality, the technical ability. He's powerful. He's super fast as well. He's way faster than I remember. We've missed him. He's going to be so good.
I mean, it is, and I know he can't. I think it's 27th of August that he's due back. So he missed the first couple of games of the Premier League season, but the fact that he's been training all the time with the lads, his language has improved, his understanding is improved of what probably Eddie wants from him. So the fact that he's took on the language really well will benefit him obviously for communication in the dressing room, but communication from the management and the coaches as well. And I just think Tonali, I said this last night, but when the pressure's off his shoulders, I think we'll see a very, very, very good Tonali next year.
Yeah, and whether that's with or without Bruno, he's going to be integral for us because we've been unable to control games and to kind of be that battering ram team that we were back end of last year, start of this year. Early on in the season, we lost to City, we lost to Liverpool, but we should have beaten them. We were better than them. We lost our heads at the end. We were, in the early part of the season, an absolute handful. We were steamrolling everyone, and they didn't want to play us. Nobody wanted to play us at all. That was one of the worst teams you could play in the league, was either City or us. Not because we were as good as City, but because we were just going to run the entire 90 minutes and just be so frustrating to play against.
Yeah.
And we've completely lost that. Most of the season, that's gone, unfortunately, down to injuries. Sandro's a big part of that. He provides kind of what Sean did last year and a load more quality passing range. He was doing it for AC Milan. He's done it in the Champions League. He's done it at international level. He's just going to be so important.
Yeah, I mean, if that doesn't excite you, the fact that Tonali, Bruno, Joelinton as a midfield trio, plus whoever else we bring in as squad members, I mean, it's so exciting. I mean, I can't wait to see those. Jock says Tonali will look at the crowd backing him, and that will help him a great deal. Niall says Bruno will be with us. Don't bow to stupid media. If we don't get Champions League next season, maybe not. I think Bruno's with us next season. There's no doubt about that.
Kev's just made a good point as well. Considering, we were third highest scorers in the league with 74 goals. Yeah. We've scored 74 goals this year, and we've been missing most of the squad. Wilson's missed a lot. Isak's missed a fair amount. Tonali obviously has been gone for most of the season.
Yep.
Barnes for a lot of the season, who was our big expensive new winger purchase. We've been missing most of our big hitters.
Yeah, we've
still scored. We've scored a crazy amount of goals. We're only 3 goals behind Liverpool.
Yeah, and everybody says, "Oh, Liverpool are wonderful attacking side."
Yeah, well, they've got 6 forwards that they spent a lot of money on. They've got Nunez, who was 100 mil. They've got Jota. They've got Salah. They've got all of these players, and who's the other one? Luis Diaz. All of these attackers. We're only 3 goals behind Liverpool after what a lot of people were saying is a really frustrating season for us. That's crazy.
I think the season has been frustrating, but frustrating for injuries, etc., that we haven't been able to put out a full team for a long time. And knowing that the capabilities of the players that have been missing, we could have been flying in the top 4 this season. I really do genuinely think we would have been a top 4 side had everybody been fit this year and we hadn't lost Tonali through suspension. Losing the goalkeeper was massive for me. Dubravka missing is huge. Pope missing and Dubravka coming in is huge. I think that made a big difference. But you look at the injuries and you think, we haven't put out a full strength side for God knows how long now. And had we been able to do that, I know it's hypothetical, but I think we would have been right up there. Now, he went on to talk about Kieran Trippier, Alex, and he said Kieran hasn't trained with the group this week. He's been away training by himself with our physiotherapist. We anticipate he'll be back next week to train. Hopefully, he could be involved before the end of the season. So he's not saying Trippier is back next week, which, some people have took that comment as saying he will be back next week. That doesn't tell me that he's going to be back next week. And he mentions the word hopefully. Now, when Eddie Howe says hopefully, that actually worries me these days when he mentions that word in his press conferences, because hopefully is a very strong word that he's used a lot for injuries, and we haven't seen players come back as quick as he'd like. And Trippier, he's been very cautious on him, isn't he? He's not saying that he's definitely back next week. He said could be. Hopefully, he'll be training with the squad next week. So he's not guaranteeing anything on Kieran Trippier.
I think maybe it seems a bit worse written down, because in the press conference it sounded very much like he's expecting him to be back training with us next week.
Yeah.
And yeah, does that mean he's going to be involved in matches straight away? Probably not, no. But I understood that as Trippier is a week behind this lot in terms of Miggy, Pope and Joelinton. He's a week behind. He's not quite there, but he should be training with us next week. Again, doesn't mean he's going to be involved in match day squads straight off the bat, but hopefully very shortly after that, he might make a bench appearance. So we may see him a little bit in the final 2 games of the season, maybe the final game of the season. It depends at what point he's at, where his fitness is at. He's been out for a little while. So, but again, I like what they're doing this time, because it looks like they are learning their lesson. Trippier's come out and said, look, we're taking this a bit more carefully. We don't want any reoccurring injuries. So they're nursing him back to the right level so that we just don't have anything. And it's nice to see. It does look like they're being really cautious with injuries now, because it has just been terrible all season.
Yeah. JPD says, very late to the starting from the beginning, but a small thanks to Paul and Stato for the update. Like and subscribe, everyone, to the best NUFC channel out there. Thank you, bud. That means a lot. Hippie says, honestly, probably controversial to some, but this season is a testament to Eddie Howe's management. With all the ups and downs, we're in a pretty good place. Well, obviously, we'll do our season review once it's all done and dusted, and obviously we'll talk about the manager and give him a season's rating. But yeah, I mean, look, Eddie Howe's took a lot of flack this season. He has. Some of it is justified, some of it probably not. I've never been in the Eddie Howe out camp. I've always wanted him to do well at Newcastle, and I do genuinely believe that the football he plays, when we have a full strength squad available, I think the football he plays is fantastic. I think sometimes we've tried to play that same sort of football without the players being able to do it. The quality's not there with the injuries we've had. So that has amounted to a lot this season of games that maybe have been very frustrating, i.e. Nottingham Forest at home, Luton Town, both games, etc. You look back at those games and you think, had we had a full strength squad, there's no way we would have played the way we did or struggled the way we did. And that's not any disrespect to any other team. That's just, that's just fact, really. If you look at the players we've had out, the quality that we've had out. But I genuinely think, he's done if we look back on the season when we do, Alex, I think we'll look back and say, yeah, given the struggles and the mountains we've had to climb this season, if we do finish 6th, and possibly even 5th, if this 5th is still there, I'm not saying we're going to do that, but
you've got to think that's 7 points off that.
Yeah. So Spurs are very iffy at the minute, to be honest. That's given. But look, you have to look back and praise Eddie Howe, don't you?
Yeah, I think the main issues. I think there's two main things that people point to, and that is lack of rotation in December. And just getting absolutely, that is ultimately what caused our drop off in intensity and style. He would probably argue the fact that, there wasn't the depth of rotation there. He wasn't able to rotate. He can't bring Matt Ritchie and Paul Dummett on and ask them to sprint for 90 minutes against Dortmund or something. You just can't do it. Fair enough. So I think he gets a buy on that, to be fair. Or, we were all screaming at the time, why don't you let Dylan Stevenson and so come on for 20 minutes and rest a few players' legs like Isak at the time. And then a lot of that's been answered by the fact that half of them are all on the release list for the youngsters. So it's one of, and then obviously the other side of it, the number two is maybe not taking players out of the team when they were struggling. Kieran Trippier had that little spell of 3 or 4 weeks where he made a load of mistakes. Very out of character for him. A lot of people were asking for him to be pulled out of the team. He wasn't. And then he played through that and he was fine. Dan Burn as well. Dan Burn had a spell of, again, 5 or 6 weeks where we kept playing tricky wingers and we were just getting absolutely done. We'd not got the right profile of midfielder available. There was a big hole. There was a disconnect. And then people were running at Dan Burn. Dan Burn was getting skinned every week. That was another thing. And people pointed to, why don't we just change players? Play Lewis Hall, do this, do that instead. So those are the main two things. There's the lack of rotation in December and playing Dan Burn when he was really struggling. So there's a couple of points that I think are fair. I think the fan base are absolutely fair to kind of say, well, because we lost a lot of those matches. So
well, he can be criticised, Alex, can't he? I mean, you can criticise when, as fans, we are entitled to criticise when we think he's made mistakes. But that doesn't mean that just because we criticise him, we want him sacked, which some of the stuff on social media, etc., or Eddie Howe out, he can't do this, he can't do that. I think he's proved to a lot of people that given the fact that he has made mistakes, he's bounced back from them and still kept us in the top 6 or top 7 at the minute. So I think, I've criticised him a lot this season, but as a fan, like I say, I've been entitled to do that when I think he's made mistakes. However, I've never said Eddie out. And I've always said that given if we've got a full team available, we can really give anybody a game.
I think this is probably the biggest learning season he's ever had in his managerial career.
Absolutely, yeah.
Maybe the first Premier League season with Bournemouth would have been quite an
when he got relegated was a learning curve for him as well. With the injuries he had there.
But I think this one, in the grand scheme of things, this season has been unprecedented with injuries, challenges with Europe, and then trying to take. This is the first time he's ever tried to take a side from being a good side to right. We want to try and challenge the big boys, and he must have learned. Him and Jason Tindall and the whole coaching staff and all the setup must have learned so much this year.
Absolutely. Adam says this channel is by far the best NUFC channel. Thank you very much, Adam. That was kind. Where was that comment about? Just bear with us a second, just till I find it again, because it was a very, very funny comment actually about. Oh, there you go. Davey says, I know Burnley beat Sheffield in El Crapico. I think that's brilliant. El Crapico 9-1. Did they beat Sheffield 9-1? Or is that an aggregate scoreline? They are the second worst team ever. But Burnley are on an upward curve. Look, whatever you think, they've got, as Alex stated earlier on in the show, they've got some very, very talented players. And, in their manager, I think he's superb. And he's learned from the very, very best. So we have to respect them, but not respect them too much, obviously. We need to play our normal game. Julie says Big Dan Burn has been brilliant since he returned to centre-back. Howe has made some very questionable decisions, says Toon Lad, leading to draws and losses. It is fair. But they're all going to make mistakes at some point. It's how you bounce back from them and you learn from them. And I think genuinely, he probably has had a big learning curve this season. I think he'll be here next season, Eddie Howe, and I think we'll have a very successful season because hopefully the injuries won't. I think this is just a one-off season, Alex, for injuries. I can't say. I'd be amazed if this continued next season.
I don't want to jinx anything.
Well, no, but especially with the investigation that they're going to do in the summer as to what's gone on with players breaking down after coming back so soon, and things like that.
Well, again, I'm surprised that's not been kind of asked in press conferences. It's not an overly. I appreciate you don't want to be too controversial and too antagonistic in a press conference. I get that. It's people have got to keep a job, but at the same time, just asking. You have had an unprecedented season for injuries. It's been very, very poor. Is this something that have there been mistakes internally? Is there something that's going to be looked into? Do you think you need to improve and expand on the medical team or your general practices? Have there been any individual mistakes, players, your decisions, medical staff decisions? You ask a few questions. It's not throwing people under the bus. Eddie Howe may brush that kind of under the rug, or he may be honest and open, and we might get some refreshing answers from him. So I feel like it's a good line of questioning that should be asked, really.
Yep. Well, he went on to talk about Emil Krafth next, and he said In the centre-back position, we're lighter than we'd like to be. No shit, Sherlock. With Jamal, Sven, and now Fabian missing. But Emil came on and played really, really well last week. Emil has played well in that central position for us this year. Going back to Manchester United in the Carabao Cup, where I thought he was outstanding. I have no doubts over his qualities. So he's definitely in tomorrow, Alex.
Well, I mean, if he was asked about him specifically, but yeah, you would imagine so. The alternative is Alex Murphy comes in and starts, and of course, the only reason you retain somebody like Krafth is if you're going to use him. So I would imagine he's definitely going to use him.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he's been again. I used to be. It's no secret that I didn't like Krafth pre-takeover at all. I don't think many people did. I thought he was poor. I think he was barely even championship quality at that point, but Eddie Howe has completely proved me wrong. He does have a reasonable skill set. He's physical. He can be pacey. He can read the game fairly well. He's definitely good enough to play in the Premier League to some level. So I've been proven wrong there. As for him playing as a centre half for the next 4 games, that does concern me a little bit. He did do a reasonably good job. I mean, again, the only data we've got from him, we do actually have data on him now because he's played over 500 minutes this year in the Premier League. But again, it is as a fullback. And it's okay. He tends to be okay in aerial duels, tackles. Yeah, he's just going to have to be switched on. I think one of the positives is he's not small. He is about 6 foot. He's physical, but he's quite pacey as well. So hopefully...
He's physical as well. I think his physicality's improved, Alex. If looking at him, he seems to be a bit more stronger now.
This is what Fabian Schär doesn't have. Is Fabian Schär isn't super athletic in terms of pace and acceleration. He's not quite got that. So maybe Krafth will give us something a bit different because Burnley are quite pacey. So maybe it's a silver lining. He'll bring us a couple of different skill sets. Obviously, he's not Fabian Schär. There was a long-standing joke on this channel that it took, was it about 13 months? I went and found the data for it, and then there was a 13-month stretch where Emil Krafth had played 1 long ball, just one completed long ball, and it was for Sweden. It wasn't even for us.
Yeah, it wasn't for us. Yeah.
Obviously, now we could do it, and this was the great big danger in that first season when Kieran Trippier got injured when we first got Trippier. That Krafth couldn't play long balls, and obviously that was the whole point. So it is a bit of an issue with Schär being out because we've got nobody in that back line that can ping a ball, really. Obviously, maybe Lewis Hall has kind of proved he can. There was a great line-breaking pass the other day from the left-hand side that he performed. So we're going to have to try and shift build up somewhere else. Bruno's going to have to get involved. But again, if they put a lot of pressure on Bruno and then the back 4 can't play out, long balls wise, it's going to be quite tricky to try and build up against a technical team like Burnley, especially if they press well, which they do. So it's going to be a really big game for Krafth because we're going to need him in many different ways.
Yep. Pete Prologue is in the chat. I've just seen this actually, Pete. Nobby Solano appointed manager of Blythe Spartans. Fantastic news that is, and good luck to him and Blythe. I mean, Blythe haven't had the best of seasons this year, so Nobby coming in, that'll give everybody a lift straight away. So good on him, and I'll keep an eye on Blythe Spartans next season because I think he could maybe pinch a couple of academy players from Newcastle, Alex, on loan and bring them on. So that could be a bonus to look at as well.
Yeah, it depends. I think we're possibly moving away from that kind of model now. It does look like a lot of the more promising.
I'm not saying everybody.
Players,
I'm just saying maybe the younger players who aren't as prominent maybe as some of the other ones.
Of course, but then again, what does that say to them? I think there's a big disparity now with the big teams where. Obviously, if a youngster stays at Newcastle, it means he's getting the access to all the better training facilities, coaching. Obviously, they can play in Premier League 2 and the youth levels and stuff like that. Is that going to be more beneficial for their development compared to playing on loan at a National League or a National League North team, or even lower than that? It's kind of tricky nowadays. But obviously, Solano knows the club well, so if we can kind of get something going, it might be good. It'd be good for them as well. It'd be nice to have some of the clubs in the like Gateshead. Obviously, we know there's been.
It'd be better than sending them up to a Scottish League Two side, wouldn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, if we can get Gateshead and Blythe up through some divisions, it's great for the region. It's great for football. It'd be great for player development. It benefits everyone, really. So
South Shields coming through as well, of course. Dylan Stevenson was on loan. So, there is a few Northeast, and I'm going to do that series of videos about the Northeast football once the season finishes, and they'll get out and about in the car and the camera and everything. We had Sunday's game will be a good test to our lack of depth and speed at the back. Well, if you're going to watch it on Sunday, you'll miss the game we had because it's on Saturday. It's a 3:00 kickoff on tomorrow. So make sure you don't miss that, because if you tune in on Sunday, you'll be watching a rerun. We have a great centre-back in the academy, 18-year-old Heffernan we got from AC Milan. Yeah, he's come with a lot of potential.
There's been a couple of clips appeared online in the last few days of some of his stuff. Looks really good. It's difficult to gauge, especially with a centre-half, because like with a winger, with like Sanusi and stuff, it's quite easy because you can visibly see that on the ball stuff is really good. Whereas with a centre-half, when you're looking at positioning and runs and timing, you're judging against their opposition, which are also not the highest level either. So it's a lot harder to judge with defensive players if they're particularly good. It's like when we looked at the Harrison Ashby clips last year. Well, there's a name I haven't thought about in ages. When we looked at his clips from West Ham, it's hard to judge if they're any good when you're watching academy clips sometimes in defensive areas, because the players they're playing against aren't always good either. So
time will tell. Has Isak been offered a new contract? Adam P reported it yesterday.
It's been rumoured, but I don't think there's
rumoured. It's in the media. We certainly haven't heard anything from the club. So as usual on this channel, once if it is being announced by the club, then we will talk about it. But at the minute, it is just in the media, and I suppose it's people are trying to put two and two together, Alex, with obviously all the rumours about him leaving in the summer and going to Arsenal and all that kind of crap. People are going to think instantly that Newcastle's job will be to offer him a more improved deal. I think he will get him. I think he will get a new deal. I think he'll get a new contract.
Yeah, I think it's very likely. I completely agree with you. In my honest opinion, I don't really care what everybody else is saying about that, because I just don't think he's going to go. I think it's ridiculous, but people think that we're going to lose Bruno and Isak in the same summer. Eddie Howe's mentioned several times about wanting to keep our best players and to build around them.
Exactly. The sort of the spine, aren't they? Yeah.
The club haven't bought us for profit reasons. They've bought us for kind of visibility on the global market. They've started investing in different things. Of course, they'd love to make money, but at the same time, they know that to make money, they need to get the club up to a certain point. Then it will start making money anyway. You can't start making money off a football club. Very few football clubs make money in that regard anyway. There's just no need for it. We're not going to lose both in one summer. And I think if we do lose anybody, it'll be Bruno, based on that whole contract and release clause stuff. And hey, look, silver lining. If we lose both in one window, we're probably going to be 250 odd million better off.
Oh, I mean, the players we could bring, you have to look at a positive as well, don't you? The money we'd have available.
Yeah. So although that would be horrible, we could then buy 10 new first team players. We could put loads of money into academy pickups, build some new infrastructure. We could completely reinvent the club with that kind of. That's basically resetting again, which would be insane.
Yeah. Well, Eddie Howe went on to say about the final 4 games of the season. He says, we know we're going to have to win games to qualify for Europe, and we know it's going to be tight. We're up against a top quality team, against top quality teams, and Chelsea are in a good vein of form too. So I think it will go right to the wire. So he is, we all expected to go down to the wire, Alex. Chelsea, yes, they've hit some form. I still think they're up and down. Given the performances, you can't definitely say Chelsea are going to turn up each and every game. It's in our own hands, and that's the main thing. It is in our own hands, and we win the games, we get 6th place.
Yeah, we just need to win. We need to win 4 games. Again, cliche, each game is a cup final. We need to win 4 games. If we win 4 games, we will get at least 6th place.
Yep.
That's it. That's all it is.
Exactly, and it's good that Eddie's talking about, though, because clearly they want Europe next season, and whether 7th place will get you Europe. They don't want to take the risk. They want to make sure that they finish 6th. And all we need to do, is win the last 4 games of the season.
It's trickier than that, but
we are capable of doing it, though. And certainly the players that we have coming back will be a massive boost. The goalkeeper, if we get Nick Pope back, if we get Joelinton back, we get Miggy back. I'm not saying Miggy's going to do anything, but Miggy coming off the bench may be a tremendous impact sub for us to have. So there is a lot of positives there for the run-in. It's looking better than it was. Obviously, Schär is a massive blow, but the fact that we now have players coming back, we have to certainly look at the positives after what's been a terrible season of injuries.
He mentioned this specifically, didn't he? That at the moment he'd like to see some more consistency. We were really good across the whole game against Spurs, but then in the other recent games, there's been a lack of consistency across the halves. He's completely right. But then he also said, but to be honest, obviously it's results. We just need results at this point. So it doesn't really matter if we get a penalty or if the opposition gets a red card or again, it doesn't matter. We just need points on the board. That's all we care about in the moment. Once everybody returns from injury, we can have a good preseason and then we can start playing beautiful football again next year. But at the moment, we just need points.
Was there anything else that you picked up on the video side of the conference?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a gripe. I did mention it to you beforehand. I'd forgotten who she was. I think you and Billy have mentioned her before. Louise Taylor.
Louise Taylor, yes.
I'd forgotten she existed, but yeah, I've had to Google her to remind myself who she was.
Most people do try and forget that she exists, Alex.
She appears to hate us. I mean,
she does. I think she's a Mackham anyway.
Well, a lot of people are saying she's a Sunderland fan, but I Googled who she was, and the first thing that came up is NUFC blog, .co.uk. Those guys who do a great blog. They've done it for years, by the way. They'd got an article about her from 2010, which is 14 years ago, where she was writing. She'd written about the Stephen Taylor and Andy Carroll fallout and fight, and written very viciously. And so it looks like she's been doing this for years and years and years. So she had 2 questions, and she asked, again, we're playing away at Burnley, business end of the season, no transfers going on at the moment. She asked him about it potentially not being a good place to live and how do you attract people to Newcastle, which was just completely, I mean, he giggled straight off the bat. I mean, Eddie Howe, his facial expressions and giggle clearly shows what he thinks of you, Louise.
Exactly.
It was just an inappropriate and irrelevant question based on the previous line of questioning and who we're playing and the whole context. It was just poor journalism. It was really random. Yeah. And then what did she say second? She said, "Oh, would you like to potentially avoid the Conference League because it's considered by some to be a poisoned chalice?" I mean, no, we're not Man City or
this is the
we
thing about
any European football.
The thing about the conference, and I don't subscribe to this Thursday, Sunday crap, right? Because if you play in the Champions League, sometimes you play on a Wednesday and Saturday. It's the same difference. Yes, sometimes you get a Tuesday night game, but of course it is.
It's great for the squad over years. We need to learn how to play 60 games a season. We need to get used to that. Whether it's Conference or Champions League, we need every year these lads to get used to having a congested fixture list and having to rotate. It's good for the managers to practice how they're going to rotate everything. It's integral, regardless of whether it's Europa or... And she asked, and when Googling her, I did also find that she'd basically said, would it have been good if we'd lost to Sunderland in the Cup so we could focus on other competitions? She's just come out with some nonsense, hasn't she? Yeah. Very strange. Yeah. Peculiar.
She has done for a lot of the time this season, to be honest.
But it really concerns me that they get into the press conference.
I know. It's annoying. It's very annoying.
Can we all start a TTR Gazette so we can go in? Because some of the people in there, a lot of them are fantastic. There were some great questions today. I thoroughly enjoyed the press conference. Keith Downey is always amazing. Some good stuff from Jordan Cronin today as well about the free transfer stuff. I did like that. But some of them, especially the Louise Taylor stuff.
Do you know what? That's not a bad idea, Alex. The TTR Gazette, and then would be an official magazine, which could then, or official, one of the, unofficial fanzine. We could maybe scrape through the door. That might be a way through.
Well, I can tell you now, I'm not a professional. I'm not trained in journalism. I don't think any of us are, but I can ask.
But you can ask questions and that, can't? Of course, exactly.
You can hit me around the head with a cricket bat, and I would ask better questions than Louise Taylor at the moment.
She's terrible. Simon Muller, thank you very much for your super chat. He says, if we finish 6th ahead of Man United and they win the FA Cup, we get Conference League. Man United are not going to win the FA Cup. I'm telling you now, right? There's no way City lose to Man United in that FA Cup fight. I'll be staggered. But look, it's not just the fact that we finished sixth. It's finishing ahead of Manchester United for me, which will be a massive plus point. To finish ahead of them after all the crap they've given us this season, certainly from a supporter side of things. Afternoon, TTR family. Hope all is well. Hoping for 3 points, says Andrew. Indeed. But there you go. That is it for the press conference reaction. Thank you very much to everyone for tuning in. Nearly 500, which is fantastic for a morning show on the Toon Review. So thank you so much to each and every one of you. Thank you to the super chatter, of course, which was, of course, Simon. Thank you, mods, those of you that are in the chat this afternoon. And thank you to Alex, of course. We will be back tonight at 7 o'clock. Start your weekend the right way. A lot of football chat, a bit of football quiz going on. Alex is actually asking a couple of questions tonight. God help us all. So we're looking forward to that. Of course, we got your chance to come on as well and have your say on Newcastle United, answer some quiz questions, prizes, etc. So it's going to be a great show to start your weekend the right way ahead of the big game tomorrow at Turf Moor. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, guys, and have a fantastic rest of your Friday. We'll see you tonight. Take care.
Come back and check out some green.